in golf, we call it moving day. And we call it moving day because this is where in championships, you're trying to give yourself as much of a platform to go and fight for a title. Here in your iRacing Creator Series, we have now reached the point where there are just 2 rounds left. The opportunity to score those points are going to be limited, and so now you set yourself up. Where is the points going to come from? We head to what is a brilliant place of racing, and onto the Roval we go at Charlotte Motor Speedway for what will be your penultimate round of Season 2 here in these FIA F4s. Jake Sperry here along with not John Isamusing Harris, but instead his dependable deputy underneath, Tom Wilkinson, who's along with us. T-Dub, today is a day where drivers will turn around and say, can I find what it takes to get to the top? They've had a break, so they've had 2 weeks to get ready for this. So in some realities, you can argue, no excuses today.
For a lot of people, this will be the point of no return. With just this and next week to come, you've got to try and make a move now. Like you said, we love to refer to day 3 in the golfing majors as the moving day. To call it 6 days, technically, with this iRacing scene. But yeah, I think this track could shake things up quite a lot. It's not necessarily a circuit, the Roval, that you would think of being overly technical and overly challenging, but it can be so punishing, even if you make just the smallest of mistakes at quite a lot of parts of this circuit.
Yeah, so any one small mistake can massively exacerbate the time, especially with the oval banking that you have around here and the various chicanes on that backstretch, because there are 2 of them that can trip you up very, very easily. And then the middle sector, from Season 1 to Season 2, Tom, we have actually had a change on how that sector runs. Instead of having a fast sweeper to work through before rejoining the banking, it's now a case of a long middle speed corner into possibly one of the tighter hairpins that you can find.
I want to say it's fun to drive, but it's quite sketchy, especially if you're a little bit on the limit. Through 5 and 6, you've got to be really committed, thread the needle to find the perfect line. And then 5 and 6 is all about setting up 7. If you're slightly too late on the brakes or slightly too late with your turning, you're going to be leaking so much time all the way around what is nearly 20 seconds worth up until that first chicane of turn 10 and 11.
Yeah, and so we'll see if drivers will be able to keep themselves steady with the progress that they've got. Let's talk championship, though, as we walk into today, so we know where the lay of the land is going to be for racing action, and the gap is 9 out there for Sparks, who has been very consistent, hasn't yet got the win this season, but that consistency pays. Aerotech, a 2-time winner this season, then just behind, 9 points the difference. Ryan L83 back in the title hunt at 17, but needs a bit of help to go and get over the top, with Punju 4th and Greedy Me in 5th. In fact, 9 of your top 10 here. Lamp, who is on a part-time basis, not here, as Hayden Gullis is in 6th, and Mac 2-on-2 had a wonderful round at Alton Park last time out, vaults to 7th. It's Storm Molina in 9th, and Super Noodle Bagel, who will round out your top 10 in this field. But it is, I would say, still a 5-horse race at the top, because Hayden, I think, is just a tiny bit too far back, Tom.
I'm just struggling a little bit with consistency. We all know Hayden Gullis sometimes can just get embroiled in 1 or 2 things that go on. And I think last week at Alton Park, with the difficulties that Aerotech had coming through in P9, when you had Ryan coming home first, you had Sparks coming home second, that has just blown things much more open and given us so many more dynamics that we can just try and pay attention to over the last 2 races that we potentially would have had if Aerotech did have the result that I think a lot of people would have expected at Alton Park.
Yeah, and Aerotech, the sort of driver who has been right there taking advantage of those who have maybe run into more misfortune by trying a little too hard to win races. That's what we call the Creator Series way of going out there, scoring points and trying to make results theirs out there overall. So we keep an eye on that. A number of spins we're seeing around out there at the moment, but they've got 11 minutes of practice here left, Tom, so they've got to try and understand, okay, where is this practice going to help them, especially in terms of the calendar of where we've been and where we still have to go for the championship finale.
100%. This circuit, a really good test of your precision, not just in these cars, but on iRacing in general. You've got to be so careful. Those curves through the chicanes in particular, They can either be your friend or they can be your foe. If you attack them really aggressively, you can get away with it and gain so much time. But with the walls pretty close around those two particular circuits, or parts to the circuit, I should say, they can spit you into the barriers very, very easy, and you can pick up heavy, heavy damage there. And we mentioned turn 7, that hairpin as well. I think in the opening couple of laps where everything's really clustered, we're going to be seeing a few bumps and a few scrapes, I would imagine, as drivers just try and find that perfect line to give themselves the best blast down that first piece of banking.
Blueberry, fastest out there at the moment in practice on a 1:19.9. Only driver she is inside of the 1:19s. Ryan L83 second on a 1:20.0. So the pace then, you can certainly understand where drivers find themselves out there in terms of their overall efforts that they go and work with. Let's take this opportunity to jump in and have a little chat with some of our creators, as perfect timing for this one is Aerotech. Hi, welcome to our run on through. It seems we've caught you mid-chat with your chat out there, but we're going to talk Title Town at the moment with you because you're 9 points back. You walk into today. How's the confidence? How are you feeling? 2 weeks away. What's the sort of understanding of where the level is?
So, Jake, you're aware of my life right now, right? You're aware of what I'm doing every day. Timer just went up 4 hours, and I had no idea what you just said. So if you want to run that by me one more time, that would be pretty cool.
Let's put it in layman's terms then for you, Aero. The question is, how are you feeling today?
Oh, I got this. I did no practice, as is tradition. That's worked out for me twice, but this track is very different from the update. Like, after the update, the chicanes are totally different. The hairpin's a whole another curveball. I'm just kind of gonna try and survive. I'm pretty slow. Like, I'm 1.5 off the pace right now. But things have happened before that have worked out in my favor. So hoping for that again. But it's preliminary is not looking good. Not a good start, but that's kind of not the point. I figured we were going to be just damage control for the rest of the season at this point.
You mentioned survival there, and I want to talk about the opening few laps because obviously you're going to be slightly further towards the back. How is that pack racing going to be? As everybody just tries to find their rhythm through some very technical parts of the circuit, very narrow parts as well. You've got to be so careful if you are running 2, maybe 3 wide. Surely somebody's going to come a cropper at some point there.
I mean, we start at the back. With us being high in points. So it's a lot of people who really didn't practice, myself included, to be honest, but really didn't practice that are still trying to find their footing, and you're trying to scythe your way through that while still being predictable. Like, it's worked out for me before. I think USA, I went middle 4 wide and got a couple early passes done and went from the back to like top 5 in the lap or two. And then Alton Park, the exact opposite thing happened. I was on a charge to the field and got caught up in a spin, and that was like the tumbler dryer of my whole day. I never really recovered from that. So just being patient, really, in the early race. I mean, this is a unique series in terms of road racing. We have safety cars, at least 1 or 2 a race. I think it's probably better to be patient early on and maybe break for a wreck and lose a couple spots than trying to full throttle through it and gain spots, and then you're going to have a long day. However, it's Creator Series. We're not here to win, really. We're here to make good TV. Good TV is going full throttle through the wreck 3 wide. So, I mean, it's a juxtaposition thing. And to your point, too, there's 2 really scary hair chicanes here that you definitely think you can go 2 wide through, but you probably can't. But nobody's told us that. So it's gonna be. We've already discussed how many crashes we're gonna have today, and the answer is more than 5. We'll put it that way.
Well, you need the fast repairs then out and available, but just set yourself up and ready for what is making this a circuit that everyone sort of is understanding with Creator Series, a place where we are going to be coming back time and time again, because it has a little bit of everything. It's got almost every style of corner. It's got opportunities to overtake, but in these F4 cars, I know you've spent a lot of time with me, Aero, over with the FIA F4 Esports Global Championship. So in terms of how you try and wheel this around, where do you think the biggest pitfall is with this F4 car?
Good plug, by the way. Watch the season finale this Saturday on twitch.tv/iRacing at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Dude. So there's going to be a lot of drafting. Obviously, again, we've seen that in the Blood 4 series where this car is very toe happy. So going on the bank and stuff, setting up passes for the chicanes is going to be kind of a point to watch. One of the difficult parts I'm having is there's downforce, but not as much as you think. So there's the double light that comes downhill, and that's really in the infield. You try to lean on the front wing, and there's not as much front wing there as you think there is. So I keep understeering and going off into the grass, and then of course coming over the crest into the new part of the circuit that they. Thank you, Hayden. So to come over the crest with that new part of this, the circuit, it gets really light, and the back end kind of wiggles a little bit. I think a lot of people are going to get caught out from that, especially at race pace.
Just a final one from me, just touching on that racing part that we've talked about. How difficult is it when you are going to be working your way through the pack to know, okay, this is the time where I just need to sit in a little bit, just make sure I need to keep myself clean and give myself a good opportunity till the latter stages? And then when do you go hell for leather and try and make up as many places as possible and seize the opportunities when they present themselves to you?
You know, I think this is a really crappy response, but don't think, just do. Everybody's got a game plan until there's like a 5-car pileup in turn 1. Maybe there won't be a 5-car pileup in turn 1. The first like 5 laps of any Creator Series race, you just, especially again in our unique position where we're kind of starting at the back, you kind of just have to figure it out as you go. We could have a disaster start with a ton of crashes where you kind of tiptoe through them and see if you could just not lose distance to the group in front, or we could all be totally clean. If you drive too careful, you're just going to drop to the back and then have a lot of work to do. So eyes forward, pay attention, and hope that had your Wheaties this morning.
Well, that's a perfect mantra to go by. Aerotech there joining us, getting ready for racing action. We're about just under 4 minutes away from jumping into that position, as Chesnoy Gaming will now join us right now for a little bit of a conversation. Ches, in terms of now how you're looking around at this, you're down in 15th in terms of practice, looking to get your feet all settled. You've got a front row seat to racing action at the front. It looks like it's going to be one of the scary ones to have cars trying to get by you.
I am mildly terrified about every corner apart from the oval. So, yeah, pretty much. Just drive around, clench the buttocks and hope for the best, I think.
What is the situation when you're trying to form a game plan in this kind of scenario where you know that overtaking people are going to be trying to make moves? They might be a little bit 50-50 from times, just trying to keep yourself in a decent position, try and keep consistency up as well while all of that's going on.
Consistency is going to be key for sure, and well, avoiding barriers and not being the cause of one of the 17 safety cars that are undoubtedly going to come out tonight is going to be important. I've had a hot tip that fuel saving is going to be important as well around here when in traffic, so I'm presuming I'm going to be in traffic the majority of the time, so I'm going to lean on that quite heavily, and fingers crossed keeping it out of a wall and just being a good boy and being safe will actually earn some points by the end of the evening.
So you're looking to try and get those points, you're looking to try and set up and make that happen, knowing that this is a 43 lap race. How are you looking to try and approach this? Is it just a case of anything is possible and just give yourself a ticket for the final 10 laps? Or are you looking at this with a game plan for first 10 laps, you know, first half of the race, second half of the race?
It's a case of you've got to be there at the end. There's no point being super quick at the beginning and then running out of fast repairs in the middle of the race. So look after the car, wait for the key late safety car, and then try and be in the right place at the right time. It's happened for me in a previous season at Road Atlanta where I managed to come home in a P5. So I'm going to try and utilise the same strategy again here, avoid the walls, and we'll have to wait and see what happens, but fingers are crossed.
How are you finding trying to get into a rhythm? Obviously, it's only practice at the moment, and it is going to be slightly different from the scenario you'll find yourself in the main race where you are going to be racing in a pack. How is the consistency from what you've practiced so far, and are there areas where you're just struggling to find that flow and rhythm a little bit more than others?
In general, as it's a track that I've driven quite a bit in other online lobbies, the flow of the track is actually not that bad. Getting used to trying to find the right spot for the brake bias is certainly troublesome, and then that bus stop chicane is the one that's catching me out the most with the rear end. But in general, the flow is quite good. the rhythm is there. It's just putting in the consistent laps without track extending and losing your lap time, etc. Like, I'm currently down in 16th, but my optimal lap is almost a full second faster. So it's finding that consistency, not cutting that corner, doing that enough, and then the positions should hopefully come along with it.
Well, we hope that it will for you, because you're about 20 seconds away from jumping into racing action. Chesnoy Gaming, they're joining us and having a wonderful little bit of insight of where the different mentalities lie from the top and the bottom of this starting grid as we get ourselves set and ready. Practice draws itself to a close as we get ourselves ready from the Charlotte Motor Speedway for moving day in your Creator Series, and it will stack up then as they will move over to the grid in just a couple moments then as follows. So full-time drivers will take priority on the front, then part-time drivers to the rear. So Els Indriani will be on the pole with Chesnoy Gaming, who we were talking to earlier on, or just then, alongside on that front row. Encephalosis and Grand Pooh Bear will then line themselves up third and fourth, and the part-time schedule of Blueberry means that she will go in P number 5. Josh's Corner will be starting the 99 car from 6th. It is then Brendan Hyperstar in 7th position, your Creator Series 500 champion, and Super Noodle Bagel then in P number 8. Your top 10 rounded out by Storm Molina and Matt 212. It's then Hayden Gullis, who is in 11th alongside Greedy Me, who's had a little bit of an upset time earlier on today with some Formula V racing over at Navarra, as Punju and Ryan L83 will be jumping in 13th and 14th. There are your title contenders at the top. Aerotech and Sparks, 9 points for Sparks is the gap at the moment at the top. Behind him, the part-timers, Moonhead, who did all of nothing over at Le Mans 2 weeks ago, and first start ever in this series for Smileable, Paul Smith will be there in 18th. It's then a VTuber 10th row of the grid, and they'll work together, Lithium Fox and Reska Kyoso. They will make this progress work, and the final car in this 21 car field, well, some may prophesize that they have had an absolutely fantastic time around this place, saying that turning right is better than turning left. All I know is that it may just there be the Stag T-Dub.
So many possibilities, isn't it? I think we love the way this works, and it's not the longest of runs down to the first braking zone, is it? So a lot of drivers are going to have to be so careful with where they tread, where they're choosing to place their car, because as we saw and as we heard from Ches, the fact that his optimal time is about a second faster than what he's managed to put together, this circuit truly bites when you get it wrong.
Yes, it will certainly bite, and just that is going to be one of the most fantastic things to see. End drivers are on the absolute limit of grip out there, and right as the race starts, Els Indriani drops with issues, and so everybody gets a free place up, T-Dub.
Always lovely to gain a little one early on, maybe a bit of a confidence booster as well, knowing that's one less car for the guys at the back in particular. They've got to try and work their way through, and yeah, not exactly a good omen either when you do lose out right at the start there.
Yeah, that's the last thing that you want, and so these drivers now have just this formation lap to keep the operating temperatures of the tyres in a window. Hayden looking very animated. Look at that Christmas tree. Out of 10 here, Tom, for the Christmas tree.
I'm liking it, I have to say. I'm seeing a good amount of decoration, good variety as well. You've got the tinsel, you've got the baubles in there, some nice little fairy lights. I'm going a solid 8 out of 10. That might be pushed up slightly by the fact that I'm absolutely loving the shades as well.
Yeah, the shades certainly helping things out. It is a little bit bright around this place here today. In sim time is November 20th, and it's about 2:30 in the afternoon, so it's a low sun that will be hanging around. And Aerotech, who is starting this race from 15th, promoted up to 14th, will now be looking at this day to say, where am I going to go and gain these places and these points? Knows that this is going to be an aggressive run that will be needed from some, and with 43 laps of racing, fuel required, tyre change may be required as well. Place yourself in the right place and at the right time. So this could be one of the most chaotic starts that you will see. So just hold your nerve and put yourself in the right place. It's a tough work to the heartbreak turn 1, and keep an eye out for drivers picking up slowdown penalties out of both chicanes, Tom.
100%. Get way too greedy. You see the curve, you see the time that you could potentially pick up and give yourself a lovely little slingshot run to try and attack somebody in front of you. And then you're just a little bit too ambitious and you're losing all of that time that you've built up over the past few laps.
So, as they work themselves through NASCAR turn number 4, the pace car has dived down into pit lane. Control of the race with Chesnoy Gaming going through the right and left chicane. Green flag already out here. Oh, what a start by Blueberry, who completely caught everybody napping on that launch to the lead at turn number 1. A magical start to racing as they go through turns 1 and 2. Out there on track, you've got to be awake at the start of these races. In through threesome side by side with Storm Molina and the likes then of Bunju. But already we're seeing Grand Poubert run wide out there over the grass as they head to 5 and 6.
A lot of lawn mowing going on there, just struggling with the understeer on the opening laps. They have to commend Ches because he made a big mess of it there on the restart, just rolled out the red carpet for Blueberry in particular to slide on through, then hung it beautifully back around the outside to repass Ancephalopoulos. First time we go through turn 7, a bit of bumpy and grinding going on, maybe a little bit of damage picked up for a few drivers in that congested midfield pack.
Yeah, a lot of pushing there from Aerotech to get Grand Poubert through the corner. It was needed. We go with Grand Poubert at the moment, side by side with Ryan L83, who is hunting for that title still, knowing that he's got all the pace in the world to go and make it work. He's just got to run through the order, but needs the drive here, trying to pick the pocket. Can't go under the apron. That's a big no-no out there in oval style racing. So it's all about picking up the run now to that chicane. Having a lunge down the inside, is almost contact for second as Ancephalopoulos and Chesnoy Gaming. Ches is going to have to take the slowdown penalty here as he abandoned through the chicane. Now it will allow Josh's corner here at the end of the opening lap, start of the second, to sweep around the outside. Here as well goes Punju.
Unfortunately for Ches, but it just looked like it was a little bit clumsy from both of the two involved, and Ches paying a hefty price there, 1, 2 and 3 places lost, and now massively under the microscope again because he's got Brendan Hyperstar to deal with, who is not a slow driver, let me tell you that.
No, he's definitely not slow. I wouldn't say it's his favourite car of choice out there, but definitely lightning fast. Ancephalopoulos holding turn 6 with 7 and 8 now, funneling itself around through the hairpin. Everyone looking for a line. 3 wide behind as well with Hyperstar, Molina and then Matsu on 2. All looking for angles, but work on the banking. Punju now looking to try and dice back underneath. Look at the train as it works its way over towards the big difficult chicane. This used to be one of the fastest slingshots through here. It's not anymore. It's slowed a lot down for safety purposes, but they hold themselves very well out there in second place, and already almost 4 seconds off the back. Punju now going for second place. Ancephalopoulos knows that the door is half ajar, and here comes the lunge down the inside. Thank you very much, an easy pass.
Does well there, Ancephalopoulos. Have to play ball when you realise somebody is going to be steamrolling
trouble,
down
Brendan
inside.
Hyperstar. Big spin there going through. I wonder, yes, tagged with Ryan L83, and then Super Noodle Bagel will squabble with Lithium Fox.
Not could use that early as well. And we see already how punishing it can be through those chicanes. Didn't see exactly what happened, but so easy, as we've seen a number of times, just to trip over one another. And that's a lot of work for Brendan Hyperstar to do already.
Yeah, Brendan Hyperstar then will have to recover back, but there are unsafety cars out there that might make differences. Not necessarily straight away, but later on the race. Oh! Grand Poubert's gone into the barriers at turn 5. He's lost it all on his own, and you can see the smoke marks there as he's gone by and around, so that's very tough. There's also some side-by-side between Greedy Me and Reska Kyoso out there for 9th and 10th, but the focus right now is on that 3rd place where Josh's corner trying to work through and chase down. It's not been as, I would say, lightning and as aggressive the runs through that we have seen in previous races this season. There's the side-by-side and the turnaround. Greedy Me turned around by Reska Kyoso.
So easy when the racing is such close quarters, and eventually one driver's going to come a cropper.
It's almost four wide there as they went through. Rescue-Kyoso's going to back out of it. Mid-pole, front pack starting to get busy again with Josh's corner, looking for a run. Storm Molina now joins on in the mix and in toward. Oh, bye-bye. There goes Ancephalosis.
Big tag there through turn number 1. We're seeing how punishing it can be. You have to work really hard for your overtakes, and then when there's just that little bit of contact, feel really have worked so hard, now it's all been undone. But look out in front. Whilst we're seeing such hard squabbling going on, Blueberry's been afforded the opportunity to scamper off into the distance, and 5 seconds to get down the inside we go with Storm Molina picking the pocket of Josh's corner. He doesn't fight it too hard and actually allows Matt 212 to fly past as well.
So Matt 212 picking up the pieces, and it's needed in these early stages. Oh, and round, that's Punju there, who spun right at the hairpin. That will bring him a huge loss as he'll come back out with Ryan L83 in that secondary pack that is starting to form. A busy start to racing. This is Punju's spin on his own in second, trying to chase down at the hairpin. You're reliant on the mechanical grip of the car there, Tom, and it's so easy to spin it.
We've mentioned about understeer through that hairpin if you get the braking and the turning point slightly wrong. With the oversteer on the exit as well, if you're just slightly off kilter, such a punishing corner. And it's not been in the game for too long, has it? So the drivers won't necessarily have the muscle memory that they'll need.
No, so it's all about that practice. They've had 2 weeks and how they look to try and build it together. So that will certainly make all of the difference. Car dives into pit lane then, and it is a slow pit lane of 64 kilometers an hour. Aerotech in with Chesnoy Gaming. So Aerotech then having to depart. The very damaged front wing for Aerotech. That's the reason why the pit stop's there. And quietly, Sparks has been making great progress and has jumped up. We'll cut to replay here. This is why it's gone wrong for Aerotech here, trying to dive down the inside of Rescue-Kyoso, bundles it into the barriers. Reska's lost it on his own, and that's the reason why that the contact there has come into play. But Sparks is now up into 4th.
Picking them off one by one, staying out of trouble and doing an exceptional job. Still over, I should say, 10 seconds off the lead, but 5 laps in, don't think there's going to be any damage for the 65. Currently in a very, very handy position as we are side by side again into the chicane. Didn't go well on the replay we just saw. Beautiful tangoing there, though, from Storm Molina and Matt 212. That is exactly what you want to see. Sparks is it in the background? No, it's Josh's corner, just flung into the barrier, I think, off his own accord.
Yep, so it's that simple, and Josh's corner then with that huge hit. They're trying to attack the chicane as much as they can, and if they don't get the car settled under braking, the rear will turn around and make it difficult. Here comes Matt 212 for second now to make the move and through on Storm Molina, but look at that gap to chase down. 11 seconds in just 5 laps.
Cruising away beautifully out in front. Replay as we go into the chicane, the microcosm of the race for a lot of people, and yeah, just lost it on the entry to the corner, slams backwards into the barriers through. Goes the rear wing off the car, and that is not good news, and that is going to be a long old stop in the pits for that one.
Yeah, so that's how quickly the race can turn for many a driver out there in the early stages. A fast-paced race to start things off with Storm Molina there in 3rd and Sparks chasing down in 4th, and a lot of it will have to do with the fact that it is blowing a gale at 25 kilometers an hour, and it's coming in from the west out there, which is meaning that you're getting effectively a crosswind over the hairpin and around the various areas of this circuit. And the track temperature at 21 degrees, it's nippy out there today in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Difficult to get the temperature, and when we're seeing so many mistakes, understeer, oversteer, just struggling to get the cars to do all they want around what is a very challenging circuit. We've said it so many times, if you get it ever so slightly wrong, it will bite really, really powerfully. We're seeing so many drivers just falling foul of tiny little mistakes that have such big consequences.
Yeah, joining there in the cockpit with Blueberry at the moment, working to try and take as much as possible out of this track. Rescue-Kyoso side by side with Punju out there. That's the race going on for 6th and 7th and 5th and 8th, because you've got there you've got lap traffic in front. That's Ancephalosis, who's had about a 3-minute stop, and then Lithium Fox trying to work through with Rescue-Kyoso. That work has done very well for the pair of them. And now as they stumble through the next section 5 up the hill, it's a plateau braking zone at turn number 6, so it's very easy to spin the car through the corner. Now for 7 and 8, the hairpin, and they're going to need to try and get that progress. Punju with a massive snap of oversteer, trying to get the power back down, brings Reska Kyoso to the bottom, and taking the path of least resistance, there goes the place.
Punju's eyes there turned to dinner plate, saw that Ryan was ever so slightly wide of the apex, got a decent run, then massive whack of oversteer. And look at this, Reska's not done here, going to fancy it down the inside to the first of the chicanes. Ryan a little bit tentative, knowing the potential consequences, and Punju behind having to slam on the anchors as well.
Yeah, so Punju there getting a little animated, side by side still with Lithium Fox, and he'll want to try and find a way to make that move happen. And look at that, the banking there, a full car width is going to be what's needed. Trying to hold around the outside. Lith leaves the room. Abandon ship, Punju. Slow down penalty incoming.
Exit stage left. Got out of that incredibly early. I'm going to feel very harsh circumstances of making that ever so slightly mistake into the final chicane. Yes, losing that position. Back through goes Lithium Fox.
Yeah, easy pass. So Lithium Fox then will jump up the place, and that will be 7th. And now trying to stay, but you're going to run a little wide, and Punju's going to take full advantage into turn 5 here, lunging for that inside, and now we'll look to try and confirm it through the long right-hander of 6. There's the little pivot to the inside, over the curbing there, or that tiny white line that indicates differences between them. Oh, switch it up! And under, gets the inside, wheels tagged together. Punju now with line.
Perfect setup play. Still hasn't quite got the move done as he's straddling the apron there. Still on the outside as Lithium Fox, but eventually the 13 of Punju flies through. But still, an opportunity will present if you want to try it. You fancy it maybe under braking around the outside of the 10-11 chicane. This time it's Punju going bouncy and cascading over the curbs. That'll be another slowdown penalty. And back through goes the 47 of Lithium Fox.
Yeah, so Lithium Fox then will now find that place back and will use this well on lap 9 of 43 as the gaps are there. Ryan L83 and Sparks now nose to tail out there on track, as you can see behind. They're Smileable, intent, trying to work away by the Stag out there for position. So Paul trying to work himself through. Fantastic commentator out there. If you've heard him on the likes then of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup over the years, he is a fantastic commentator. And he was also, as he gets through on the Stag who makes a mistake, here's a bit of a fun fact for you, T-Dub. He was also the karate man on the ITV4 adverts.
That is a throwback and a half, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah, no, he absolutely was, and he certainly has seen that, and it's been on for the British Touring Cars, for example, when ITV Sport rolls itself in and runs through, but I think they have switched over the last couple of years to make that work. But I would love to see this 2nd and 3rd battle and that 4th and 5th battle, because remember, Sparks and Ryan L83, 1st and 3rd in the championship. They're trying to prove their top dog over the other, on board with Ryan L83 working his way through the banking to 3 and 4.
Huge opportunity for the pair of them as well. Aerotech has been in the wars once, twice, maybe thrice in this as well. Down in 13th after sustaining a little bit of damage early on. And this is where maybe you can just dig in, be a little bit more patient, as Ryan, not particularly stable there through the final chicane, clatters both curves. There's the battle for 2nd going on in front as well. I think Stormalina just had a little look down the inside into turn number 1, dangling the nose of the F4 car, but Matt 212 not off put by that one and holding firm around the outside. The Stag into the pits, by the way, as well, just probably for a little bit of damage, you'd imagine, that's been picked up.
Yeah, and trying to get on strategy calls, so what we call a green flag pit stop out there. Stormalina over the top of the crest, then in through turn 6. The slow car there of Moonhead, then on the right-hand side, who is known very much for his dramatic commentary calls out there of 87 style racing at Talladega. That's his brand every day, every night, just trying to tiptoe his way around, and I think it will be with damage out there. There's no rear wing for Moonhead at the moment, so what has happened there to create such a dramatic moment? It would have been at turn number 1 where it's gone wrong, and it would have gone all on his own. He'd have just lost the back end and the car would have snapped hard into the barriers.
And without that rear wing for a significant portion of time that's not going to be particularly enviable, you have to say. Just crawling around there, the flash of lime green going past, have to say, slightly slowly. Look at the gap pad in front, though. As all of the trials and tribulations, we return to Moonhead, now facing the wrong way. I think out of the 10-11 chicane. 15 seconds Blueberry's got. That gives you such a nice buffer at this stage of the race to be so flexible on strategy when the potential safety car comes, though, later on, which we haven't seen thus far, but hold your horses. I think it still could be a very, very high possibility. That is going to eradicate all of the good work in the opening stages.
Well, we have seen multiple unsafety cars pretty much every round this season. It has been inevitable in some respects, but here's the respects now you've got to have, because second, third, fourth and fifth all closing in on each other. Matt 212 desperately trying to run away. 20.5 by Ryan L83 compared to a 21.3 of Matt 212. 8/10 on that last lap.
Blueberry still got just a little bit of a leg up out in front, though. 20.3, a couple of tenths faster than Sparks and Ryan, who, like you say, just closing up to the duo of Matt 212 and Storm Molina in front, who for the past 3 or 4, maybe even 5 laps have just been sinking their teeth into one another. You can see the different lines there. Matt 212 really exploiting the red, white and blue parts of the circuit there on the inside. Storm Molina going for a little bit more of a traditional line, cutting back across slightly earlier.
Yeah, so that traditional line sometimes does pay off, and sometimes if you get a little bit creative, you'll find a line that might suit you. It's not as case here in these FIA F4s that you can just say one line will get the job done. There's a lot of different ways that you can take the circuit, be a little aggressive on exit, aggressive on entry, and it certainly can pay off. Look how close Ryan L83 goes to the walls and hopes to try and just pick a little bit more of a line, working through turn 4, but there is a bit of dirty air that comes along. Not as much as you see in a Formula vehicle, but still enough that means a couple tenths of a second a lap can certainly flick off of the end of your time. So you've got to be very cautious around the various corners out there, that you're doing the right thing at the right moment, and it's now about these two drivers trying to work out, can we catch these cars in front and how quickly can we pass?
100%, because it just looks like a bit of a stalemate at this stage. The gap did dip below 1 second going through turns 2 and 3, back up to 1.1, and Storm Molina had a good run through turn number 7, still tucked up underneath Matt 212's rearing in there. Ryan really aggressive on the first part of the curbs through turn 11, just then puts him slightly offline through 11, first part through 10, then through 11, which just leaves him a little bit more exposed and removes any kind of opportunity to get a lovely, lovely run into the final. Okay.
Yeah, so that final chicane, remember, is going to be very important on the last lap. Do not cut on the last lap, because you have no time to get rid of the slowdown penalty, and it will be an extra 40 plus seconds over the line added to the end race result. So it could make all the difference. Lap 13 here of 43, and Matt 212 in second, still holding steady. 16 seconds is the margin up front for Blueberry, who is waltzing away at the front of this field with various different drivers now looking to try and prove and say, this is where we can find ourselves with a chance to make this race ours. On the brakes then, into 7 and 8. Big wide line constantly being taken by Matt 212. He's trying to maximise the exit out of the hairpin. Very good strategy to try and make the banking work. But if you overcook it into the corner here, Tom, how much do you think you're going to be struggling to try and make it happen?
Boatload of understeer if you do try and take the wide line and get it just slightly wrong, costing you all the way down to turn 10. Is there a bit of contact? Yes. A tap from the rear. Matt 212 giving a helping hand into the barriers, and Storm Molina, I think, will be feeling a little bit guilty on that part. Now with Sparks and Ryan at 83, right tucked up underneath the rear of the 14 car. Could be under some pressure, maybe not into the chicane, but potentially into turn 1 if the 14 does stay out here.
Well, it's going to be the opportunity arising. Here comes Ryan L83 to the inside. A decisive move on Sparks, and now we'll try and eye up Storm Molina to say, it's now my move that will come along next. Can I find another chance to go and make this work? Storm Molina wouldn't have been happy with Matt 212, a little slow on apex there into that chicane, but this is where you're seeing the difference makers at this moment. Can Ryan get that launch over to the inside and say, yes, I can get the line through the first part, cover off the second? Sparks now looking to try and go through, but it's not secure. You can lunge back down at the hairpin. Big wide line taken by Sparks, trying to get early on the power. Storm Molina putting the car in all the very difficult places to get the passes done.
Really good job there. Brave under brakes as Ryan just gave Stormalina the time of day on the inside to fight this one back. Sparks a very willing spectator at this stage. Are we going to try and thread the needle through the middle? No! There's a little bit of contact moving over on the straight. The red carpet isn't quite rolled out for Sparks, but Ryan flying over the curbs.
And with Stormalina part there, that looks like an unsafety car style incident for me, because that's very dangerous there at that section of the circuit. So the safety car will be deployed as we'll take another look. Stormalina looking for an angle. And when you're moving across like that, if you're Ryan L83, you can't afford to be making those styles of contact out there. We always know that Stormalina is going to try and get the clearance. It's going to be close. It was so wide across that I'm not sure whether you could say it's 2 into 1 or 1 into 2. I think they both were going for that middle line as almost everybody jumps for pits. The one driver it's really disadvantaged out there is Blueberry, who is effectively 20 seconds down the road. That cheap pit stop is not going to be that easy.
At all. Going to have to wait and see how that pans out. Interesting contact. I mean, the word... difficult to say, I think it has to be said. With the way they were fighting so hard through the first part of the lap, they were very clean as well. Ryan and Stormalina wasn't it? Very respectful, in particular through that hairpin of turn number 7, but unnecessary. I think when you're fighting over second position, yes, there's a big gap to the car in front of us. I think there was a bit of contact there with the 21 of Matt 212 almost find themselves having a bit of a chunk out of the wall on the inside there. But yeah, unnecessary and paying quite a hefty price, Stormalina.
Yeah, there is the unsafety car. It is a Toyota GR86 out there today, and so it is a car which is part of the history and legacy of this place. We ran GR86s here last time we were here, as we take a look then at map 212. Oh, getting a huge snap of oversteer, scared by the unsafety car, and somehow just manages to save it. That could have been a disaster there for the Welshman.
Considering how well this race has been going so far, you do not want to stack it under the unsafety car, and through all of that hard work done so well to stay out of trouble for the majority of the first half of the race so far, get yourself some decent track position. You don't want to then stuff it under the unsafety car and then find yourself with a little bit of egg on your face after a bit of an embarrassing moment.
So it's Blueberry who has control and says safety car is here. Those cars that are a lap down are allowed to unlap themselves at this position. Blueberry has led every lap so far in this race, including lap 0. Got the jump before the drop, or on the drop of the green flag, to go from 5th to 1st, or effectively 4th to 1st, by being awake to it. That gap of 20 seconds gets eroded then at around the just over the 1/3 stage of this race. And so Ryan L83 second, Sparks in 3rd, Aerotech has managed to find himself in 8th despite the pit stop. So that will certainly keep him in the mix at this moment, but there are very capable drivers all around this field who want to try and make this work to go up the order. I don't think this is going to be a simple race from this point onwards. I think the restart's going to tell you a lot, and there is Sparks then very happy at the moment in that 3rd position. I would say everything you want out of the start of a race so far.
So many opportunities now in the back half of this race. With the leader, that gap of nearly 20 seconds eradicated, and now we're going to see what Blueberry in the 41 is made of as well. Had some really strong and consistent pace out in front, but was under no real pressure come the end of lap number 1 up until the unsafety car was called. This is going to be a completely different kettle of fish with Ryan L83, Sparks, and potentially Matt 212 all fighting over that top spot.
Yep, so they're all trying to make this top spot theirs and know that they've got championship to think about. As it stands, Aerotech will be losing more ground in the championship. Ryan L83 might become the nearest challenger as it goes. Hayden Gullis is trying to really hunt to get onto the rear of the group and to try and find the opportunity to say, look, I can join the back and I can gain that time once again, working through the chicane and trying to get himself through. Hayden has this wonderful habit in this series, T-Dub, to be nowhere for the first 30 laps and somehow find a top 10 finish.
Spawn comfortably inside the points paying positions, which actually is a very decent trait. If on your bad days, and Hayden has had a couple, you can pick up a really decent chunk of points just from staying headstrong, staying in the game, keeping your nose clean once things have gone wrong in the early stages, and just keeping those points ticking over. That is a very, very strong trait and characteristic to possess.
Yeah, and so Hayden Gullis, the way that he goes about his business, he is someone who is the quiet driver out there. We always like to joke that, oh, Hayden's in P1, he's never seen lofty heights like it, but it's the way he races. He prefers to be a driver that makes places late, and you see it time and time again. I look around as well and say, where is the next stage going to be? I would actually keep a close eye on those two VTubers, 5th and 6th, then Reska Kyoso and Lithium Fox, because they're going to want to make progress, as does Punju. Punju has said that Charlotte Roval has been his favourite course of iRacing Creator Series, and Lithium Fox with the best statement always. We always point it out, T-Dub, I just drive the car.
Drive the car and hope that everything goes well. Doesn't always go well, but if you keep your fingers crossed, then maybe it might do. And it has been a good run from Lithium Fox to work their way through. I don't think we've seen the 47 car in too much trouble and too much strife so far in the almost first half of this race thus far. Punju could very easily be up in second. We need to remember that. Got into second place. Yes, was being chased down by the likes of Ryan, by the likes of Sparks, but that just slightly lazy, loopy spin at this corner we're approaching now, turn number 7, where just a little bit too ambitious on the loud pedal once he missed the apex by a few meters, just costing him, what, probably 5 places at this stage still.
Well, 5 places will be 5 places too many for Lowe's out there. Moonhead is the only one who still needs to gain the lap back. Is currently 1 lap down, so once the 01 decides to move back onto that leading lap again, I'm sure we'll be in a position. In fact, no, we're getting the word that it will be in this lap, and so they've decided we had enough of waiting out there for Moonhead, who will be mired a lap down then by the decision for the unsafety car to come in at the end of this lap. It is Scotty Designs behind the safety car, so says, I've had enough. Let's go out there and do what's needed and make sure we got great racing. So that's going to be the next stage that will be there. Blueberry in control, but some very accomplished, quick drivers that are in behind. You've got Sparks, you've got Ryan L83, Matt 212 is there, Reska Kyoso and Lithium Fox. It's a top 10 of top 10s with Paul Smith there, Smileable, making the rear of that in 10th position. But now it's about the mid-phase of this race. Have you done enough? And as we all know, a safety car out there or an unsafety car brings more unsafety cars to the party. How aggressive is this launch going to be? It's at Blueberry's command to say, I am going to go and get this jump. You could wait all the way to the middle of the chicane, so you're going to have to be very switched on, and Ryan L83 knows that one to no avail, and it's going to be a long, long wait. It's going to wait for the start to go, and there is the go, and it was way too late by Blueberry on the launch. Ryan straight to the inside, takes it away.
Blueberry just leaving themselves exposed there, because you could see Ryan was chomping at the bit to try and come through. Now there's a couple of cars potentially separating 2 of the rivals into the barrier hard. That's Matt 212 and I think potentially Reska Kyoso.
Yeah, Reska struggling there into the barriers and is going to have to try and get back up to speed. Just a 2-car incident, no front wing. That's how quickly it can fall wrong. Punju then trying to see why goes Sparks, championship leader, in trouble and for the lead. It's going to be Blueberry back, and Sparks has been run over and now goes down to the inside. Lithium Fox making contact front to rear. Sparks has got it all to do now.
How quickly things can change, because look who's interloping now inside the top 4. Aerotech gaining 4 places on this restart, doing a very, very good job just to keep his nose clean so far. Ryan has managed to rebuff that rear assault from Blueberry to hold on to the lead of the race, but still interlocked as they come out of the first chicane, with Punju hot-footing it after them as well.
Yeah, so Punju definitely wants to be in the mix, but look at Blueberry trying to pick the pocket of Ryan L83, desperate to try and jump through, gain places, and pull this one back into position. Punju up to 3rd. Aerotech, what a run for him, just picking up the pieces. Now up to 4th and in championship leading position right now.
Yeah, another bit of contact going through the far chicane. A car entering the first corner backwards, you can see in the background.
Yeah, it's a hefty hit, and I think it's Smileable who's found the troubles. Turn 1 backwards. Front or the back seeing what the front's doing was with Super Noodle Bagel at the time, and so brilliantly it is a case where Paul now is going to have to try and work his way back. But Ryan L83 still with control. Where do you go if you are Blueberry, who is stage hunting this season to try and find an opportunity now? Gets the look down the inside, but again, Ryan's just carrying the speed. The Stag's in trouble with Josh's corner.
Get through 6, not good news at all, but Blueberry hustling that 41 car, looking really confident since the unsafety car has come in. Ryan throwing the defensive shape at the middle of the circuit. Is Blueberry thinking about it around the outside? No, definitely not. That would be brave, I think, to say the least. And all of this has allowed
Josh's corner went upside down. Sorry, wow. Josh's corner went upside down. I wonder whether that would have been unsafety car worthy. It won't be now, it's too late, but it was a huge accident coming through 6.
We're going to see it here live. I haven't seen what's going on. We've got a car going wide there, and that's going to allow, I think that's Ancephalopoulos potentially just to sneak up the inside. No, the Stag to sneak down the inside. And here we go through 5 and 6. We're going to see the barrel roll eventually down the inside. We go, here is Josh's corner. Sliding in front, it is the Stag, and with absolutely nowhere to go. Being caught by the catch fencing and being thrown back upside down onto the track.
Yeah, so back onto circuit. It's so easy for an incident to spiral into 2, into 3, into 4. Smileable having to take the pits, and now for the lead. Blueberry now looking to uncork the pass, and there's the contact! Right at 83, hard into the barrier!
Rear wing gone. Blueberry getting through unscathed from what we can see, but that's another of the championship protagonists coming a cropper since the unsafety cars come in. You can see big damage there for the 83 of Ryan tumbling through the field, and that is not good news for his championship charge. Aerotech has stumbled into the top 3.
He's trying to drive it home without the rear right wheel attached to his car, so he'll be there like Michael Schumacher trying to bring it back, just slid it through the corner, and it all happened on the case of, I've got to find a move. I don't blame Blueberry for this move. You've got to make a dive down the inside, got alongside, got everything that was needed, and then as they fight for it, Ryan just tries to shut the door, and it's just not shuttable.
Already had a foot in the door, a stranglehold on that move, and Ryan just didn't quite leave the space as he cut back over to the right-hand side. So maybe a bit of a master of his own downfall there and falling to P15 as it stands, but maybe dropping even lower than that with Sparks down in 13th now as well.
Yeah, so with Sparks in 13th, Aerotech 3rd, Aerotech would walk to the championship finale as leader, as Chesnoy Gaming drops a place to Grand Pooh, or is now going to see Grand Pooh Bear in trouble, dropping down the order slightly. So we're seeing the changes now starting to really put themselves in. A bit of smoke as Storm Molina's trying to work through too, but for now, hold yourself steady. Aerotech in championship position on moving day.
We've got a safety car. Safety car has been called. I can see, you said it as well. A bit of smoke there, I think, through turn 1 potentially. Lithium Fox in the pits, Ches in the pits as well. Opportunity maybe for some of the drivers and the runners and riders at the back to try and steal a march on some of their rivals. I imagine this is what the safety car was caused by.
Well, it's one driver who was there at Moonhead. I think it was Chesnoy Gaming, who was going through turn 1 and got massive air rolled over the top. Of turn number 1 over the catch fence with Grand Pooh Bear. We've got to go see that because Chesnoy Gaming went over the catch fence.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how this one pans out. We saw the reverse entry drift from Moonhead there into the final chicane. Looked a little bit unstable there. You can see already getting interlocked with each other there, Ches, and I'm not sure who that is there through the final chicane. Missing his rear wing already, and this is going to be very unstable into turn 1.
Yeah, so in through 1. Pooh Bear loses it, and then look at this, hits the guardrail and over the top of the catch fencing goes at the likes there of what was Chesnoy Gaming. So that was a tough day for him, and now realizes he's got to A, take the toe, then B, get the lap back. But a quick caution out there for the unsafety car brings it back out. It was exactly what we were saying. There is not much time to effectively have this field go the way you need it to.
100%. More contact that was going on here. Smileable, we saw him slamming into the barriers through turn number 1, eyeball to eyeball, and yeah, just a tag there, and you're an absolute passenger into the wall. Not quite as hard as maybe we thought before, and at least bodywork wise looking okay. Suspension might be a little bit damaged, you would imagine, but not as bad as it could have been.
Yeah, let's take a look then. This is Reska Kyoso on the so it was a door in the side there by, I believe, Aerotech going through potentially. And then that door sets the chain reaction up. Rescacioso nowhere to go. And there's the slide through once again, trying to work. Sparks then down the inside. He gets a wiggle. Lithium Fox then has the contact. And then suddenly you're back down the order again. It's as quick as bish bash bosh. And suddenly the championship picture changes on a dime.
Completely spinning around with Aerotech now up into 3rd, Sparks 13th, and Ryan at 83 19th as things stand. Chesnoid Gaming behind him on the circuit in the pits as things stand, getting that toe like we mentioned. First time I've actually seen a driver flip over the barrier and ending up on the old part of the track.
Yeah, so that old part of the circuit, very tough to navigate yourself back from, but we are really seeing the differences out there from those who have found troubles. Is this where we point out that Hayden Gullis is 6th?
I was about to mention, we were talking about it, weren't we, how just it's quite quiet in the early stages, maybe gets embroiled in a few battles, and then when things really kick off in the mid stages, just somehow works his way through, keeps his nose clean, and that's 10 places made up in the space between the two unsafety cars.
Yeah, it's so easily done to make up time, to get places, to move through the order. You know that the moment drivers have issues, you can jump into play. Safety car, well, unsafety car will be in at the end of this lap. And Cephalosis, who had a 3-minute pit stop in this race, is now back into 10th. So starting to find some progress. And give credit to 2 drivers who haven't really said anything out there in this race so far. Super Noodle Bagel and Greedy Me, 4th and 5th.
Been quiet, but been successful and done a really good job of working their way through from slightly further back in the pack from where they started. Have to mention Aerotech, by the way, though, because he is slightly out of sync. 18 lap stint so far for the number 3 car, compared to 7 or 8 for the majority of the drivers that are around him. That could just leave him driving with one hand tied behind his back for the second half of this race, depending on how the safety cars pan out in the second half.
Well, if he thinks there's another one out there, Aerotech, then there'll be a pit to have, and effectively his strategy will play perfectly, you'd imagine, with Super Noodle Bagel and Greedy Me there just behind. Greedy Me has outside thoughts of the championship as well, so could bring that into play. But this is about hunting. This is about giving yourself a platform at the end of these races. And so you're looking around, you're just over halfway in this race, and this second half of the race, you've had a good long run, now you're a little bit mired down. They're going to need that tyre temperature back on this restart.
100%, because what we spoke about earlier, unsafety cars breed unsafety cars. This could end up being split into a number of short sprint races with the safety cars being deployed and the contact that we're seeing, and people racing really, really hard, but sometimes just getting it ever so slightly wrong.
Sparks in 13th, Ryan L83 back in 19th position at the moment. A whole host of names looking to try and make this one their own. What do you think the big key for this restart is for Blueberry, knowing it went wrong as the unsafety car pulls away now through the chicane? Left it too late first time round.
100%. Needs to try and learn from the mistakes. Yes, got the lead of the race back, but needs to remember what happened on lap 1. Yes, it's a slightly different scenario, but was very, very successful in picking up places and picking the pocket of the drivers that were around, and then left themselves exposed on the previous restart.
The unsafety car is in the attenuator. The pit attenuator has taken the tow, and the engine absolutely smashed in that unsafety car then. So Scotty has put it into the attenuator and the water that is filled there, and so it was leader maintain pace, no overtaking until the line. And so can you find that good start? It is Blueberry, Punju, Aerotech, Greedy Me, Super Noodle Bagel. Your top 5, they will get back underway on lap 24 of 43. Just 20 laps to go at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Where's the launch out there? Where is the chance to go? Again, leaving it late. Blueberry just has no drive over the line. Thank you. Down the inside, Aerotech lead. No, Aerotech's gone. They're all gone.
How quickly things can change. Punju stumbling into the lead of this race. Look at that number of cars sideways. Big car park in 2.
There's got to be an unsafety car for this. Everyone's in it. Absolutely everyone. Everybody has been caught up in the incident. And as they've sorted out, safety car will be out again. A massive crash on the restart.
So many were involved, and it was all caused by Blueberry. That slightly odd restart, just getting pocket pinched and into the wall. You can see Aerotech there. Blueberry found themselves tripping over so many cars. Look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like a speedway race with how they're climbing into one another. And then at the back, you see Moonhead there slamming into the car that was trailing down the circuit. What's that? 10 plus cars. They're going to have a big tow back to the pits.
Well, Blueberry never went anywhere off the start. Aerotech did it right down the inside, but overcooked it on the throttle. Yes, I lead. Oh, wait, no, I don't.
Totally self-inflicted. Totally self-inflicted. And then it's going to see the absolute carnage that is going to unfold as he crests the hill, drops back down through 2, and see a wall of about 5 cars, I'd imagine.
Well, I would say, look, there's Moonhead there on the left-hand side, just about as damaged as you can be. This is Lithium Fox's perspective of this. So there's the 2 out there on the right, then the left, and then the chain reaction. Where do you go? Just a wall of smoke and car and upside down, and everyone's still piling in.
Trying to survive it, but getting clattered into by a number of cars that couldn't see what was going on because of the smoke screen that was deployed when all the contact was made. I think there were about 4 or 5 separate incidents there going on.
Yeah, there were. I think Hayden was one who got turned around there early, and then, upside down. Is that Encephalosis or the Stag who's gone upside down? That's the Stag just finding it all wrong at the wrong time. And, well, some say the Stag could be Australian, so actually works better upside down.
000s, they look the same upside down as they do the normal way around.
So, as that goes, you will now be seeing where drivers have such a wonderful run in this race. Punju now your leader. Second is Greedy Me. And Brendan Hyperstar, through all of it, has moved up to 4th. Sparks and Ryan L83 now 7th and 8th. And 9th then is Aerotech. So you're seeing the big difference that is there out there at the moment. So those starts really are becoming a case of the toughest thing to try and work out, and then everybody now jumping down into the pits to go and get that launch. I wonder whether with these restarts that it's a case of some people aren't really getting the jump or trying to work out where the line is or something of that ilk. It is very difficult, but a number of drivers come in and used a fast repair at that last stop. I am not surprised to see that, and in terms of this race, they do have 4 fast repairs available.
They do, and some of them, from the incidents that we've been seeing, would have been burning through them in the first 25 laps. Interestingly, Aerotech, we saw him loop it round on the restart through turn 1. I believe that he stayed out and now has Sparks and Ryan L83 sat directly in front. So that stint extending now to 20 laps. Massively out of sync compared to everybody around him now.
Yeah, so being that far out of sync, you'd expect that, you know, with the spin as well, I think it's worth noting in mind, because he didn't actually tag anything, he just avoided everything out there trying to get it back going again. It's an 80% fuel tank. If they're going to keep having these runs, he might be good.
Actually, the unsafety cars will be helping him out if the plan suddenly does diverge. It is, well, maybe we can try and extend this to the end of the race. Hayden Gullis, how good it was looking. Number 6 in position 6, now down into position 19. But we saw before, at the first unsafety car was 16th, but the second unsafety car was up to 6th. Definitely a possibility for Hayden to work his way back through into a very decent point scoring place.
Where is the Stag going? The Stag is not a lap down.
He's overtaking everybody. Look at him go.
And the Stag leads, and the
we know
Stag
the Stag does what he
realises there's a
wants.
mistake. And I believe the Stag, when used the words, the Stag does not concern itself with being laps down.
Does what he wants. The Stag, no rules that will apply to 000s there. Dropping back down now into what will be 18th place. No, through goes Hayden Gullis, 17th, 19th, I should say, going down rather than up. Maybe we'll drop back behind Encephalosis. We'll see. The Stag maybe just fancying a run, the last to first challenge in the second third of this race.
Yeah, so now needing that run to go through, keep an eye out. All your championship contenders are together, 7th, 8th and 9th out there on circuit. So if you put them in a powder keg like this might be a day where they're looking to jump forward. It might be a day, and this will actually benefit Sparks, if nobody scores points.
100%. Opportunities, and when you're in this kind of position, it's been a race of attrition. You're now buried in the middle of the pack, these three championship protagonists, the main three championship protagonists. How do you play it now? There's not that long to go in the race. We're probably going to be expecting another unsafety car with the trials and tribulations we've seen over the last 15 laps or so. Do you just try and be careful, dig in, wait until the latter stage and just try and pick up places when they are presented on a silver platter? Or do you go for it, try and get yourself towards the front and ahead of some of the slower drivers that line in front?
Now, Blueberry, for the first time in this race, is going to have to fight from the rear. She's down in 16th position, and so with Moonhead first, Chesnoy Gaming, there are a number of cars to try and leapfrog through. Punju will have control of this start, then Greedy Me, and so you'll be keeping an eye out on who's going to be doing what. The unsafety car will now pull away, and Scotty Designs will get himself up to speed once more, looking to try and get this clearance sorted and making sure that Punju has all the time in the world. Now, it was into the attenuator last time for the unsafety car. How unsafe is this this Drift Legacy car out there? Oh, it's another one into the attenuator. Pit lane's jammed. No pit lane for anyone out there. That GR86, a holdover of the Truno AE86, which, by the way, was the Tofu car out there for Initial D. And the funniest thing they've done with that T-dub is the fact that they've made sure traction control is locked on in iRacing for that car.
It's quite funny, considering what we have just seen. Punju's turn, though, returning to the action to back everyone up and hopefully do a better job than what Blueberry did.
Yeah, so now who is going to hold that station as it's a good launch there by Punju. Gets the clearance on Greedy Me. Brendan Hyperstar then a lot there to try and work with in third, but it's a much more strung out restart here as they try and work through turn 2. Now into Bank of America, turn number 3.
Flying through at the moment, Punju equidistant back to Greemy, and Brendan Hyperstar just getting a little bit hustling as Greemy slightly dipping a wheel into the grass, and then further back another car very comfortably into the grass. I think that was Smiler Bull just getting a little bit of ambition. That's going to allow the championship protagonist to try and work one over the famous iRacing commentator.
Yeah, so there's one through, and now will Ryan L83 jump to the outside and get the clearance. Has a wiggle halfway through the corner. The former Radicals Online driver out there is going to have to fight on the oval banking against Smiler Bull for position. Aerotech watching on, so this is going to be a tough one. Top 5 have broken away at the front of this field, and so now they're going to look through. There's a change for second because now Brendan Hyperstar has got through on Greedy Me. Smiler Bull pushed a little wide. Aerotech to the party. Now here comes Josh's corner.
They're getting bulked in here and boxed in as trying to work his way through the traffic, but that is not good news for him because of that slight mistake from Smileable into the chicane. Put him offline, and Aerotech with absolutely nowhere to go. Does he commit into the final chicane? Little bit tentative there. It's the lock-up for the car in front, now cascading over the curves and heavy into the wall.
Aerotech not like this as he now finds himself dropping the time, needing all the help, and now way down the order. That is the biggest disaster he could have possibly have had at that moment in the race. Now trying to get it turned around. It will have to be a tow back to pit lane, and so the disaster befalls again. We focus now up the hill over towards the next section with Brendan Hyperstar. This hairpin comes along again to join the banking. Greedy Me hasn't given up against the Team i5G car with Storm Melina, Super Noodle Bagel, Sparks and Ryan L83 all in this group.
And once again, we've seen the championship picture completely flip on its head. Not that long ago, Sparks down in 13th, Ryan in 19th, and Aerotech up in 3rd. And once again, we see the complete role reversal. Sparks and Ryan keeping it out of trouble and just following Smileable into the final chicane when Aerotech, and then that big mistake over the curves, couldn't control it, slamming into the wall. And that could, still 15 laps to go, but very well could be championship done.
It might be, but it depends on what comes along late on in this race, because you've got the likes then of Moonhead versus then those around, and that is Hayden Gullish trying to work away back through 4th position. Moonhead represents Antarctica out there in iRacing because you can do that. Oh, Hayden, cheeky, and that's going to be one lost over, and Paul there is Smileable has lost 2 positions then as Reska Kyoso and Matt 2-on-2 have gone through. We got side-by-side into turn 3 now because here comes Lithium Fox down the inside of Josh's corner. Blueberry as well trying to work through all the VTubers together.
converging, but it could get a little bit messy. We've seen contact here once, twice. Are we going to see it thrice? Not yet as we go down into turn number 6. Got to be so careful with where you place the car. As Josh's corner potentially under the cosh with Blueberry trying to work back through, dangling the nose down the inside goes Lithium Fox on Smiler Bull. It's Blueberry that's slightly wide, but does get the power down early enough to still keep a foothold in this battle with Josh's corner. In fact, has a stranglehold on it.
Yeah, it is an absolute buffering there. There was hefty contact there between Blueberry and Josh's corner down at the hairpin. Blueberry thought she left enough room. She didn't. And so she's got one place done, but she needs more than that if she wants to go and get some points with Lithium Fox, with Smileable, all there. We'll take another look. There's the run down the inside, the understeer, and bang. Wheel-to-wheel contact, that's okay. You can get away with that style of hit out there at the moment. There's side-by-side now, Smileable versus Lithium Fox. Lithium to that inside line, and then Paul gets himself caught up on the middle, and so nowhere to go. There goes all the places.
The lead changed hands very briefly as well. Brendan did get himself ahead of Punju, but the 30 has managed to steal him. Archer steal first position back from Brendan Hyperstar, so that battle definitely hotting up with Greedy Me still very much in that equation as well. Further second and a half back to Sparks, who's managed to put a car crucially between himself and Ryan.
Yeah, so that car in between them is Storm Molina, and so now Ryan's going to have to work through a driver who's been very good at getting by. Contact between Storm Molina and Ryan L83. Ryan scampers on by Storm Molina, left for dust.
Rear wing bouncing down the track. We're going to get a look at this again into turn number 7. You would imagine, is it just laid on the brakes or is it a mistake? No, it's Ryan slamming into the back. Unfortunate there for both drivers, but Ryan just a little bit caught short there by the braking of Storm Molina. And that is not good news. Second bit of contact. Ryan's been involved in that part of the circuit today.
What makes it worse for him is that he's struggling with pace. I think there's damage on the front. And so that is going to be a case of Ryan now heading for pit lane and seeing his season go up in smoke now, and he'll get a speeding penalty coming onto lane as well. So now he'll be in double trouble out there at this moment. Sparks in 4th place, having everything his own way at the moment for this championship. You couldn't have written it up better here on lap 31.
Going to be doing the unsafety car dance now. Those two Aerotech down in 20th, a minute off the back of the pack. Ryan's probably going to be joining in the race for the wooden spoon, and all of a sudden, somehow, Sparks finding himself in a very strong position here. Just got to try and keep it cool because he'll be very aware of the things that have happened to his main rivals and what is currently now at stake.
Yeah, a victory could be on the cards here for Brendan if he makes it work, with Punju leading, with Greedy Me in 3rd, the Americans 1, 2, and 3. There is Brendan Hyperstar, very calm out there at the moment as he looks to try and figure out where it's all going to work out for him. Now, at this chicane, not going to get the run. This might actually be a patience card that plays for these final stages of this race, because they've got a huge gap over Sparks at 2.5 seconds, and then it's a further 3.5 to Matt 212 inside the top 5.
Can't be too patient though. The trade-off is you've got Greedy Me sat lurking and waiting and watching and looking for that opportunity just to try and upset the apple cart between this pair. I wonder how aggressive the 48 is going to be in trying to just get in between them in the next 3 or 4 laps and just try and upset the rhythm that Brendan Hyperstar currently is in. Punju hasn't been bulletproof so far this race. We need to remember that as well. There's Matt 212 down the inside. Super Noodle Bagel losing 1, losing 2 places. Tried to get one from Matt 212 and now almost Blueberry squeezed into the wall through 2. Super Noodle does hold on to 7th, but that is 1 place definitely lost.
And there's side by side as they work up the hill. Greedy Me dives down the inside of Brendan Hyperstar. I'll have it back. And they'll give Punju some gap now in 2nd position. There's gap to be had, and suddenly this race becomes even tougher to try and understand. Greedy Me now in that 2nd place. Remember, Greedy Me is still someone with an outside shot of the championship. This could be perfect for Greedy Me's hopes.
As things unravel for others, suddenly other drivers find themselves in a position that they definitely did not expect with regards to the championship. Bundu's still in the lead and trying to open that gap up after, I can only imagine, a mistake from Brendan Hyperstar in the first part of this lap that has allowed him to try and scamper off into the distance. Greedy Me does have, I think, just a little bit of pace in hand to close that gap back up. It's now all about what Brendan does. Does he try and get this place back, or does he now play the spectator's game and wait for something to unfold in front of him again?
Lest we forget as well, Punju is 4th in the championship. They change. Matt 2-1-2, losing out then to Reska Kyoso, who moves into the top 5. You got Blueberry there as well in 7th, trying to make something of this from being down in 16th at the start of this run. Greedy Me, now knowing that this 2nd place is going to mean a lot. Brendan Hyperstar's there. They've got to keep the pace up to keep Sparks at bay.
Back in the pits, by the way, so that looks like it's maybe a little bit more damage for the 000 car, and Aerotech and Rhino Lady 3 are going to get even more company down at the back, detached at the back of the pack. Greedy Me, like you said, has closed that gap, half that gap pretty much in the first half of that battle going on. A Super Noodle Bagel. The pace has fallen off a cliff here. Maybe mistakes coming in as well. Desperately trying to cling on to places, as many as he possibly can. Josh's corner just with a foothold around the outside. Not quite eyeball to eyeball, with the 55 just still in the ascendancy.
Yeah, with Rhino 83 17th. Aerotech is 20th and a lap down. A half spin for Chesnoy Gaming, but Matt 2-1-2 holding himself steady at the moment in the mock-up Brawn colours, as Blueberry now tries to figure out a way to get by the Welshman out there, covering at half a car, now to the outside, turns inside here for Blueberry, but lifting off of it, not wanting to send a party down to the inside, and Reska gets in the wall slightly, a tiny tag of a lift off then for Matt 2-1-2, lunges to the inside, picks it up. Blueberry now will look for a run.
He'll lap that one up on a silver platter, taking 5th back off the hands of Reska Kyoso. Now Blueberry going to sternly examine the rear of the 113 car, but it's Matt that's slightly wide there. Maybe an opportunity will present itself. Blueberry faster than these two over the course of the 34 laps so far, trying to battle back through. You're going to be brave to send it down the inside of 5, keep it pinned through 6 we go. Does Reska fight this out around the outside, because you can still go defensive into turn number 7. Good racing thus far. Blueberry I think is just going to run out of road on the outside, and does.
But will get drive, she will, against Reska Kyoso as they fight for VTuber honours out there in this one. Where are you going to go? Underneath the apron! That's so cheeky there by Blueberry. You don't often go down there to make a move, and it is taboo to make this pass, and so Reska, I think, if Reska had headlights, those would be flashing.
Playing with fire there, not to try and drum up any sort of controversy going down below the apron there, but that was a risky move, because we know that things can go heavily wrong if you get it wrong by going under the apron, because you are straddling the line. It's not quite even on the banking. You can just lose your footing ever so slightly. The battling between that trio has allowed Sparks to have a 7-second gap between themselves, 4th and 5th respectively, and Sparks is also closing up to this leading trio.
1.1, and we can call it a quartet when it's pulled within a second. Punju has just been holding the line at the front. Greedy Me has been waiting, and these are critical points at this stage of the championship. Down 19 is Punju, down 21 is Greedy Me on Sparks. So if these three can work together, they know they're in with a real championship chance heading to the final round of the season. And that calendar sets itself together and says, you know what? You want absolutely everything at Watkins Glen Cup to finish this one off. No changes through the chicane. Punju still holding line, still happy with the way that this is going. But Greedy Me here, with now looking over towards 8 laps to go, is certainly starting to think about where's the right place to make this move. Because it's not just an if you make this move, it's a when.
You start getting impatient as well. I thought Punju was slightly too late on the brakes into the chicane, managed to slam the anchors on, but not a particularly good exit. Is this the opportunity where the lead changes hands? Going to try and hang it around the outside. Brendan Hyperstar fancied it maybe to try and dip under through turn number 1. Punju still holds the lead, rebuffing that first assault from Greedy Me, who is now just starting to lay their cards down on the poker table that is the Charlotte Roval.
Yeah, and this is where you're starting to understand. Places will mean everything late, and so one wrong move, and you can see everything go. Matt 2-1-2 has a penalty, and I wonder here in this, as I look over at the event rules, there are 30 instant points available. I wonder if he's ticked over the limit.
Not good news. Very easy to do with the track limits just picking up those track limit infringements. I think Moonhead in the barriers again, going through turn number 6 stationary with a bit of smoke coming up from the lime green car. But this is not good news for Matt 2 on 2. With everything that's unfolded, a really strong result could have given him an opportunity maybe to fight for the championship if things went his way. But with Sparks ahead, with Punji winning the race, I think this 5th place is not going to be enough and could even be taken away with that penalty.
It certainly could, and remember, he's got 4 laps to serve it because he's got to dive into the pits and run through. Ancephalosis now joins the same reaction as Lithium Fox as well in the pits with big damage, with huge damage those drivers have had. There's been a massive accident down at the chicane. Lichtenberg now trying to work through and say, where are you going to find the angle? Where are you going to find the line? It's not there for at the front. It was a huge accident late on.
Oh, way too late under brakes, slamming into Lithium Fox, caught up with Ancephalosis there and slamming into the barrier. Not good news there at all. Both of them were running not inside the top 10, so it's not going to cost them too many points, but dropping further down. It could maybe just give the likes of Ryan 83, if we continue to see these collisions and these crashes and people take it out of contention, maybe could just pick up a couple of points, which could prove very, very crucial for him.
Yeah, and so now with the final few laps, we are out of unsafety car territory, I believe. It's pretty much you crash it, you own it at this point in time. 1, 2, 3, and 4, all funneling through the chicane. Little wide from Brendan Lichtenberg. This will allow Sparks a chance now to go for the podium here again in this series. He's had so many podiums as Sparks, hasn't been able to get it across the line for a win yet this season, and he's looking for that statement of intent. Again, not quite close enough in a livery that is very reminiscent of an early 2000 Williams.
A little bit lucky there, just touched the grass on the run into the final chicane. If you're a little bit too far on the grass, that will spit you into the barrier. Greeny all over the back of Punju through turns 1 and 2, just dangling the nose into turn number 3, maybe trying to scare Punju, spook Punju into a little bit of a blunder and a mistake, slightly wide again. This could get tied into 5 and 6.
Well, if you can get a good run through 5 over the top of the crest, you can lunge for the inside at turn 6. Greedy Me pivots for it, but doesn't quite see the line. Sparks and Brendan Lichtenberg wait. They both check up on the brakes. Good run through the middle. Brendan now will try and steal the march on Greedy Me, onto the banking once again, but they will now realise, hang on a minute, we've given Punju 6 tenths. We're going to have to gather it back.
Bit of breathing space. Greedme just realised that managed to get ahead and could drop back down onto the optimal line right on top of the apron as they file through. And look at that, already Punju a little bit slow through the chicane, and once again the 48 right back on his tail.
The waiting now means all the world. Can you find an angle to get this pass through? Punju and Greedy Me, 1 and 2, and there's another little look into the mirrors on the inside, just trying to get the car as wide as possible. You're going to have to set up these runs. This is tactical, this circuit. You can't just go blundering down the inside and hoping that you're going to take the piece. You have to wait and set the move up 5, 6, 7 turns in advance.
What we should say as well, with their following so close, racing is such close quarters, we've seen a number of times if one driver makes a mistake, very easy for the car behind just to follow them in, so that could prove crucial in the latter stages if we see a mistake from one of the 4 drivers in this quartet.
Yeah, and so wide will try Brendan Lichtenberg, maybe to try and steal a march for it. Big wide line then taken through the corner by Sparks on the rear, but Punju again with 0.4 of a second to go through. Chesnoy Gaming now jumps on with a penalty and will have to try and work through that, so there will be even more to try and to discover late on in this race. Drivers like Hayden Gullis in 7th will be still picking up points, and Blueberry through all of this is only 6 seconds off the back of this group now as they work side by side. Sparks has got a march on Brendan Lichtenberg to 3rd and might try and get down the inside of Greedy Me. There's no room, Sparks, to go through. Now Brendan can try and send a soiree down the inside to take the place back, and does.
Oh, that is very, very lucky for Brendan there. I wonder if there was a pinch with the
car
car upside down. What is going on there? Brendan's still going to go for it. Down into turn number 1. They're allowing Punju to scamper off into the distance. Sparks still saw an opportunity to the inside. I think Greedy Me has the ascendancy on the inside. Going to try and hang it all the way out there as Brendan Hypestyle. Got a lot of road and a lot of runoff to work with. Keeps it pinned onto the grass and still eyeball to eyeball.
3 wide, here comes Sparks to the inside, just doesn't quite get the run. Brendan still on the outside trying to make it happen. Greedy Me knows at some point he's going to have to tap out here, and it might be this corner because Brendan Hyperstar, oh, he almost loses it on the exit. That was the moment that maybe sets into the ascendancy. Where are you going to find your places? Where are you going to find your points? They're battling with it all on the line, and it will only bring Blueberry in, and it will cost them more points out there if Blueberry gets involved. Outside line for Greedy Me. Can't turn in.
Look at the gap, 2.5 seconds. Punji's now got in his back pocket after the scrapping that we've seen in the previous lap and a half. Sparks now with Greedy Me sat in front. Brendan Hyperstar will try and check out and leave these two to squabble amongst themselves, and Blueberry, who has probably on the balance of things been the fastest driver out there, only 2.5 seconds back now.
So, with that in mind, 3 laps, 2.5 seconds, and Greedy Me with no drive. This is where Sparks is going to want to try and get this one done through turn 1. Oh, they only just leave each other room there. It could have been very sketchy if the wheels interlocked through the opening corner at Bank of America turn 3 and into turn 4. There is Blueberry. Look at that carrot on a stick in front of trying to get up to that group. That's going to be huge. Reska Kyoso is also following. Sparks to the inside now through turn 5, and now here at 6 we'll have the inside again. Greedy Me again can't do anything about it.
Sparks, that was opportunistic, had to get the move done, was on the button, on the money, getting up inside the top 3. Now just needs to make sure he doesn't get drawn into a battle with the charging Blueberry. He's now just a second off the back of this pair, a 2.5 seconds separating third, or second and third I should say. Punji 2.3 up the road from Brendan Hypestar. You think that's probably just a little bit too much, unless there's a mistake for the 13 car. Greedy Me almost tapping the back of Sparks into the first chicane.
And off the exit there, that was close to the wall from Sparks, getting a little bit twitchy on the rear. Slow car up on the top right. That's Chesnoid Gaming trying to stay out of the way. Blueberry now will join the party with a couple of laps to go. They'll hit the brakes, and look at the difference under braking. Blueberry's there.
Hustling the 41 car, looking very, very confident. Made a mess of it with the 2 restarts that we saw, but still very much an opportunity to finish inside the top 3. Could be a very grand case of what might have been, but look at the confidence and the speed Blueberry's got over the rivals in front.
Yeah, very much a case of very quick drivers in Blueberry's community who would have helped her out, the likes of Jack Wells and Aidan Young. Blueberry is on an absolute tear, looking for a way by Greedy Me for a place here. Greedy Me in the middle of the road in no man's land at the moment, trying to work around the outside. Here comes the cutback to get the drive, and down to the bottom, a race it will be. And I think Greedy Me says, I yield this one too.
High as Blueberry continues to straddle the apron there right at the bottom, but does pick up 4th place. Only a lap and a half to go, just running out of tours to maybe steal that 3rd place away from Sparks, who's nearly a second up the road. The gap out in front, by the way, not a particularly good previous laps. I think Blueberry slammed the barrier there on the exit of the chicane. We'll have to wait and see if there's damage, but on the previous lap, Punji made a bit of a mistake, and on this lap has leaked a little bit of time as well.
We'll take another look here. This is a difference maker as you go through the chicane. How close do you want to be? Kiss it, like Ayrton Senna would have done at Monaco. Last lap for Punju. He knows he'll be the only title contender today, taking points off of Sparks. But how many is the question, because it's 7/10 for Brendan Hyperstar, who is clawing back this one at a rate of knots. Sparks in 3rd, has Blueberry behind in sight. It's on for 1st, it's on for 3rd here at Creator Series. 9/10. Punju's had a good middle sector here, up over the top of the crash. Blueberry a lot closer now to Sparks, might have a sense of where to go on the final chicane. On the brakes once again, working through that very difficult hairpin, and now needing drive off the exit. Blueberry is looking at this podium saying, I can hunt this down at 0.2 of a second. Punju safe at 9/10 for now. Brendan Hyperstar can only hope for a spin in one of the last chicanes. Can Blueberry try it here at this first chicane? No, it's set up for the last one. That's not great by Punju either. 4/10 of a second. Brendan Hyperstar is going hyper mode, trying to get this to close down. 3.5 tenths of a second. One braking zone remains, which will be the right-left at the end of this one. Punju, hold your nerve through this chicane. It's close, but not enough. Punju takes it. Seconds there. They come together for third. And Sparks is trying to finish this race backwards for third place. Oh my God.
Greedy me, greedy lucky there, because Blueberry almost reversing into the 48 car. This was crazy contact through the final chicane. Both of them pitched into the wall. Sparks going for the obvious option. Yes, I'll reverse over the line. Blueberry tried the J-turn to spin it round and almost collected the 48.
Oh my, that one big. Grand Poobah's got penalty coming over the line, so it's going to drop. With that, some dramatic battling to the end between Josh's Corner and Smileable. Josh's Corner wins that one out in 8th place. A day where some had it great and some did not get what they wanted. A Matt 212 wounded heading towards the line.
Well, it was looking so good for Matt 212 at one stage, wasn't it? But it was in the wars in the second half of this race, coming home down in P12, which I think he'll see as a little bit disappointing. But Punju almost made a mess of it through that first chicane, was under the cosh into the final one, but just about holding on. Brendan Hyperstar, you said, taking chunks and chunks of time out of the 13th car. It was 8 tenths per second on the penultimate lap. It was another chunk on the final one, but just about it's a Punju victory.
Well, Punju says, I absolutely love this circuit. This is my favourite circuit. And on his favourite circuit, he has got his favourite result. A win for Lucky 13 out there here today. And, well, as he finds himself then in the middle, burn it down.
Celebrate with it, because he had to work incredibly hard. Remember, it feels like a lifetime ago. That mistake through turn 7, about 10 laps into the race, that dropped him out of second position, managed to fight his way through, kept it clean as others fell by the wayside. I think that is a very well-deserved victory.
It is, and it will be one which puts him firmly in the title picture, heading to Watkins Glen. He'll need a bit of help to try and get it done over there, but it should still be in the ascendancy that he'll have mathematical chance of it. A win by 2 tenths over Brendan Hyperstar. Sparks again on the podium, but not picking up a win here today, so he will again score those consistent points with his hit on the final corners of this race. Greedy Me almost had them both, but it's only going to lose minor ground in that 4th place. Blueberry from dominating this race, she will end up in 5th. Raska Kyoso will be 6th ahead of Hayden Gullis in 7th. Again, consistent points for Hayden with Josh's Corner 8th. Smileable, first start of the season, 9th is definitely very good of a result with Super Noodle Bagel rounding out your top 10. Matt 212 will be classified in 11th ahead of Storm Molina as Grand Poobah has penalty to deal with coming over the line, and so will drop to 13th. Ancephalosis, your last finisher on the leading lap, ends up 14th position with Lith Fox 15th ahead of Chesnoy Gaming and Aerotech in 17th. Yikes, that's where the championship will hurt. Ryan L83 in 18th. Double yikes. That one hurts even more than the first. And then you got the likes of Moonhead and then Els Indriani, who both could not finish in front with the unsafety car out there, or the the Stag as well, sorry, in 19th, also finding troubles out there. But now is the time, as better as any, Tom, as we get in Eli in for a chat. Punju, a must-win today. It's your favourite track, it looks like. And now, as you sit yourself down, you're in the title hunt.
Dude, I guess I am. I have no idea what happened, but yeah, I always like to say you got to put yourself in a position to get lucky, and I definitely put myself in a position to get lucky, and I got lucky, dude. That is crazy. I will take it, dude. That was amazing. Super fun, and first Creator Series win ever. So what a way to do it. But it needed, right?
How stressful were those last 10 laps, I would say, because There were 4 of you in that train, real close quarters racing. You had Brendan trying to come through, you had Sparks trying to come through as well, trying to pick you off one by one, pick up the places to maybe challenge for that first win of the season. I imagine quite sweaty come the end.
Yeah, quite sweaty for sure. I mean, I'm not gonna lift my arms anymore because my pits would look like it's Niagara Falls down there. But I was definitely panicking. I was definitely feeling the pressure. Something happened where I was slower than basically everybody else. I just turned on the defense like crazy and just tried my best to defend, and it seems like it worked out. So, yeah.
Stars aligned for you then after possibly the biggest, the second biggest accident we have ever seen in Creator Series, aside from what happened there at the opening ever Creator Series race. So how on earth did you pick yourself through that?
I was actually in front of it. So I think I restarted in like 4th or 5th or something like that. And I see arrows spin on the left. I'm like, oopsies. And I just go right by him. And then I look behind and it that looked like a bit of a rough spot. I even called at the beginning of the race before we started. I was like, I bet you the big crash isn't going to happen in turn 1. It's going to happen right after that in that really tight area where there's nowhere to go. Seems like I was right.
How difficult was it to keep it out of the wall? We saw a lot of drivers making mistakes throughout the entirety of that. I think you looped it round as well at one stage through turn number 7. It looked like the track and car combo really difficult just to wrestle with and keep control of.
Yeah, they're definitely not made for each other. There's no, in iRacing, there's a bunch of fixed setups that iRacing makes that go with certain tracks, and there is not one that exists for Charlotte Roval for a reason. It's not made for it, but it was very fun. Keeping out of the wall was extremely difficult. There was that moment where I had a little spinsy, windsy, but it wasn't too bad. And we just collect ourselves and keep on going. And it seems like we end up, getting back on the pace and getting out there. So it was tough, but doable. Very tough.
Right. Let's talk 7 days from now. You are 13 points back going into the final round of the season at Watkins Glen Cup, a track notorious for overtaking. Do you have what it takes to win the title?
I do not know. So to add a thread to this, I'm going to be out of town next weekend, and I'm going to be racing on a rig that's not my own. So I will be at PRI competing in the esports race there in Indianapolis, doing a set of course competizione, and then playing the much more fun iRacing in the middle. So I'm excited. I get to kind of somehow bounce between the games and do a mix of everything. So it's going to be an intense week next week, and we'll see if the changing conditions help or hurt me. Right? I could just go in there with absolutely no cares, and it works out. Who knows? Like I said, put yourself in a position to get lucky. So that's what I'm trying to do today.
And that you did. Eli there, Punju, getting himself into championship position with a win today at this wonderful Charlotte Roval. Second position today would end up being Brendan Hyperstar. In the midst of all of that, Brendan, I would say today was a chance, but it was one where you needed maybe a couple tenths more to get it done.
We definitely need another lap, but I was in a kind of tricky situation of I was third in line, knowing if I wanted to make a pass for second, I was gonna lose a bunch of time to first place and potentially be out of draft range. If I realized I had more pace to catch, I would have tried to make a move early, but the way it played out, I'm pretty happy with second. We up until like the last stint, we had a terrible race. Like I didn't practice too much. I don't really like the F4 car. I've gotten better at it. That's probably why I didn't like it. Now that I'm doing better with it, I'm okay with it. But I'm happy for second because we were 3 wide. Was it around turn 4? I figured at least one person was not making it through that corner, and it's usually the person on the outside. So when we made it through there, I kind of internally pinched myself and said, at least we got second.
How difficult was it out there just to try and stay out of trouble, keep the nose clean, but also stay headstrong where you are seeing loads of people going off, loads of unsafety cars being called, getting involved and embroiled at times yourself as well?
Obviously, I mean, I knew it was a long race, so I was pretty calm even when, I basically wrecked myself twice. I hit that massive curb in turn 4, just basically not paying attention. I tried to blame the fact that I have not had coffee today, but thankfully there's the faster fares, and then I mean, we had to go through the field twice today, basically, and just knowing it's a long race, that people are going to make mistakes, and never really lost my head at any point. So
it's critical, especially when we consider that it's going to be pretty much everybody trying to make moves on you next week at Watkins Glen Cup. So in terms of dealing with that close quarters battling, you're very much familiar with the IndyCar style of racing where, say, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that's all it is. Now, when you translate that onto a road course, do you think you've got skills that are going to help you then in 7 days' time?
I think the variant of Watkins Glen we're running is basically like an oval. I remember when Pask ran there a couple like a year or two ago, and what that was like. So Watkins isn't really like one of my favorite tracks. I feel like the kind of like drafting style tracks I'm never really good at, because like you're so reliant upon draft. If you make a mistake, you're out to lunch, because the whole pack is going to be in a train just driving away from you. But I don't think anyone can drive away from anybody with an F4 or Watkins. So I think it's just going to be a matter of like the person who makes the least mistakes and who's able to defend the best is probably going to win that race. And if it's me, I don't know if I have any particular advantage, because there's a lot of people who run the F4 car a lot more than I do, and it definitely showed the first half of the season, but we've been picking up strong since the second half of it.
Just on the last couple of laps, it got pretty feisty out there, battling into second place. I think with 2 or 3 laps ago, the gap was 2.5 seconds. Was there ever a point on the last lap in particular where you had been taking chunks of time out of Punju's lead that you thought, I might be able to get him, there might be one opportunity that I could slip through?
But with 3 to go, I was just noticing in the chicane in the back stretch, I feel like I was braking. I was braking a lot later and able to carry my speed through. Punji was struggling a bit in the exit, which is what you need the most. And I was just able to take my exit speed, get the draft I could, and I didn't think it'd be close to God at the end. I was actually surprised. I was within if I was a little bit closer, I would have tried to make a pass in the chicane, but I just wasn't close enough to do it. But overall, really, I had a lot of fun. I was struggling in practice, but I've joked with my stream that like I peak about the last stint of the race, because that's when my practice actually is, and now we actually go racing. So it was a good day overall, especially with the previous bad results we've had before.
A good day indeed for Brendan Hypestar, who joins us with a second place finish here today. And so to your championship leader, we must go. Sparks, the Podium Emporium has itself another, I would say, order from you. But again, it's a third or a second and not a first. So unable to close it, but you've built a little bit more of a gap. From 9 points, it will be 13 now that you'll walk away with. But ultimately, a good day at the office.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I actually kind of thought with Ryan out of the equation and Aerotech out of the equation, I thought, who is in the title fight? I was doing the maths in my head trying to think who is actually in it. And I actually thought maybe I've won, but I didn't want to say anything on stream until I could actually prove it. And Punju with a great win today. I mean, he took advantage of all the chaos at the end. We were all behaving ourselves. And then all of a sudden, we're just going wheel to wheel and super epic racing. I really enjoy getting up close and personal like that, but with no contact. But yeah, I don't really understand how important this podium was until now, where Punju's 13 points behind. And yeah, it's got to go down to the wire in Watkins Glen.
What was the game plan in those last sort of 5 or 6 laps? Once you caught up to the trio in front, you knew that Aerotech and Ryan have both had a bit of a stinky race for the pair of them. Down the order, weren't going to be picking up any points, or if at all, it has to be said. Were you happy to just try and bank the ones that you knew you had locked in, or was there still that temptation just to try and get those couple more?
There was still that temptation, because I wanted to try and win a race. That's been my goal the whole season. And we've got 4 podiums, so it's going pretty well, but I wanted to try and push ahead of Brendan, but he defended quite well, then attacked Greedy Me, and then Greedy Me attacked Punju. And when you're the 4th car in a train, you really can't do a lot. But I was taking it a little bit more cautiously than usual, because I knew that I don't want to get into a race-ending crash at any point. Otherwise, that will not be very optimal. So part of me wanted to go for it, and I did try. But at the same time, I was being pretty damn reserved, because I just didn't want to throw my car into a barrier.
Well, let's talk about what happened earlier on in the race, because you ended up getting turned around down at the hairpin. It put you all the way back down. You needed a couple safety cars to get yourself back in. And did you need to try and thread your way through what happened there on that final safety car that came out. It was chaos.
Yeah, it was absolutely terrifying. Like, I got through that and I thought, I'm surely going to get tagged in the rear. And that's got to be it. But I got so incredibly lucky. And I don't know if you caught it on stream, but on the final lap, I went wheel to wheel with Blueberry in the final chicane. And we might have had a bit of contact, and I reversed over the line to keep P3. So, probably one of the more insane races today, especially just throughout the entire field in terms of chaos. It was absolutely mental. But yeah, genuinely, I feel like I got quite lucky because I didn't even drive too well today. I wasn't really on the pace I wanted to be at. But we still find a way onto the podium, so I'll definitely take that.
I just want to ask quickly about that last lap, because we did catch it. And for people that aren't drivers necessarily and don't play racing games week in, week out, how instinctive is it in your edge to go, hit it in reverse, get it over the line as quickly as possible?
Well, like, what instinct was telling me, get on the damn power and try and get the car forward. But with the way that the car hit the wall and then hit Blueberry, I just knew that, oh my god. It's not going to look good if I hit the throttle and drive backwards. So I just stacked it in reverse, hoping that the game would let me do that. And it did. And I could literally see Greedy Me catching me on the straight. And I was terrified about that. But just about got to the line in the nick of time. And just, yeah, it's pretty damn lucky.
Walks into Watkins Glen with a 13-point championship lead. Sparks there joining us and having everything to work with now as we set our sights in 7 days' time here with Creator Series and on iRacing. Your standings will look as follows. 88 plays 75 between Sparks and Punju. Greedy Me then back 24 championship points, a little too far back to make it happen. It's quite a simple scenario here, Tom. It is hand-to-hand combat. It is mano a mano at Watkins Glen.
100%. Two big contenders ruled out after difficult races. I think it's fair to say Aerotech 28 back. Ryan now finding himself in 6th in the standings behind even Hayden Gullis. Make of that one what you will. But yeah, I think that will probably ease the minds of Sparks and Punju going into the last race. Sparks in particular, he only has one drive that he needs to focus on, doesn't need to try and spin too many plates going into that last race. He's got the target on his back, but he knows who's going for it.
He certainly does, and then it's a case of a great battle for third between Greedy Me, Aerotech, Hayden Gullis now to 5th, and Ryan L83 in 6th. Maybe Matt 212 and Brendan Hyperstar can make something of it. Blueberry now with that result jumping into the top 10, so a lot to figure out. But Tom, we do need to talk about where we are in 7 days. What do you think is the biggest difference maker when Watkins Glen is pretty much on the mind?
It's so difficult to read, isn't it? Because when we're driving these F2 cars, or F4 cars, I should say, it's so unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen. As we've heard from the likes of Punju and Sparks, everybody that's come in and spoke to us, Brendan as well, it might be a bit of a lottery with the overtaking. We're going to be seeing cars streaming past each other. It's going to be an interesting battle. It's going to be thinking about the long game one. You've got to stay headstrong because there is going to be cards. You are going to get involved at some point in that chaos that goes on. F2 squared. Thank you for bringing me up on that one. But yeah, I think for the likes of Sparks and the likes of Punju, I say the likes of, they're the only two in real championship contention. They've just got to play it simple. As we saw with the slogan on the halo of Lithium Fox, just drive the car.
And a lot of people just will. With Creator Series, we've got some amazing action coming up over the next couple of weeks, including during iRacing's Week 13, where Max Bantz is going to be back after a 6-month hiatus. That will be with racing action at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez EV layout, and you'll definitely want to jump in and deal with that because a random position will win the race over there. Sign-ups are open over in Max Bantz Discord land and the video with Southport Racer. But in terms of Creator Series, we are 7 days away from crowning a champion. From Gareth Allen behind the scenes, from Tom Wilkinson alongside me, my name is Jake Sperry. When it becomes a case of titles to be decided, this was moving day. It wasn't a case of many drivers moving up, it was who fell back. Aerotech fallen back. It's a case of Ryan L83 fallen back. But it is Punju who will now lead the charge to try and get away by Mr. Consistency. Sparks has been podium bound without a win. A marquee win will be perfect for him, but obviously he can't confirm anything until he reaches Lake Seneca in New York State. Watkins Glen and the Cup layout is just 7 days away, and the Creator Series for Season 2 will conclude with an absolute furore of glory, no matter which way it will go.